Food, glorious food. We all need food to live, but food is beautiful, and it can tell us stories about our culture and our values and the places we've come from, the people we are, and the people we love. We're all equal over a shared meal, and food has the power to restore and nourish our planet or to destroy it. Our current food system is both a miracle and a disaster. The way that we eat and the food that we produce is currently doing terrible damage to our planet. Food production and agriculture worldwide is responsible for 30% of greenhouse gas emissions and is the single biggest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, to biodiversity loss, to deforestation, drought, freshwater pollution, and the loss of aquatic wildlife. The way that we eat food and the way that we produce it has power to restore our earth and to restore soils, but also to really destroy it. So here's a bright idea. Our population is due to be, predicted to be 9.8 billion by 2050. And we've got to work out how to feed the whole world sustainably and fairly, really quickly, because food is going to be on the forefront of climate crisis. So here's a bright idea. Why don't we eat the food that is produced to be eaten already? Globally, we waste a third of food that is produced to be eaten, which, if it was a country, would be the third highest emitter after US and China. We've heard that food production accounts for 30% of greenhouse gas emissions, and then hear that we waste a third of it. So that's 10% of greenhouse gas emissions, more than the aviation industry. I heard all these facts. I learned all these things way back in 2014. Me and my housemate, Mim, were living together in a house which was a kind of radical community of dreamers. And we had shared a spare room downstairs where we would house people that needed accommodation, whether for a night or a few months. And all our ideas and discussions and dreams happened over a shared meal and at a table. And Mim and I became activists, both working for different charitable organizations, me working in the hospitality sector, and at the end of a catering shift, would be made to throw away huge amounts of quality food and then walk 100 meters up the road to the local Salvation Army food cafe and feed people a measly bowl of soup and a toastie as their only hot meal of the day. So Mim and I started inspecting the bins behind supermarkets, and what we found was just unbelievable, amazing amounts of beautiful, completely edible food. So we started taking pictures of it, and tweeting about it, becoming activists. And way back in 2014, supermarkets were really burying their heads in the sand and denying that they had a waste problem. One time, we tweeted Iceland a picture of what food that they were wasting that day, and they replied saying it was a one-off incident, to which we were able to reply, here's last week, here's the week before, here's the week before that. Went viral, and we felt like pajama in our bedroom activists that had taken down Iceland. But the response to that was that they locked their bins. Brilliant. But word got out that we were collecting food waste. We were looking for food waste, and some examples. This one is half a ton of vegan cheese because someone had typed an extra 0 onto their order. We got a ton of yogurts because the barcode had been printed wrong. Seasonal produce is just colossal, the amount of surplus produced at Christmas time for us all to feel extravagant and see shelves full of food. Pumpkins all dubiously have a best before date a few days after Halloween. And yeah, absolutely incredible produce. And I look at bread. If we stacked the amount of bread that we waste every day in the UK, if we stack them into slices into a tower, that tower would reach the height of 27 Mount Everests. How much we waste every day just in the UK, 15 million slices of bread. And I don't just see that this food is food that could be feeding people. I also see the resources that have gone into that food. So those avocados that have come all the way from Peru, the fuel, the energy, the power, the water that's gone into making them. So we did something about it. We set up Refuse back in 2015 through just some pop-up events, which we gathered a load of volunteers. We gathered a load of food, whether that was from the bins or whether it was from the front doors of supermarkets. And we just put on these big banquet meals in community centres and church halls, 150 people at a time from all walks of life. And that grew through amazing support of lots of different people. We ran a schools project, educating kids about where their food came from. We did some banquets in kind of market squares around County Durham, serving pumpkin stew just after Halloween. I did a bit of consultancy work with the co-op and just tried to get to the bottom of why this food is being labelled as worthless. And suddenly, my living room was full of food, and my car was on its last legs. So we did a crowdfunding campaign and raised £15,000 to buy a van and to start looking for premises. And skip forward some months, we found this property, which was an empty warehouse, an empty shop front in Chester Street. It had been empty for 6 years in Chester Street, just 10 minutes north of here. And again, an amazing community effort, taking volunteers, whether they were professional plumbers or just people wanting to have a bit of a go at DIY, and yes, that is me with a power drill, brought this kind of empty space that was totally, no ceiling, no walls, no water supply, into this amazing cafe that it is now. And it's, a shop front on the high street in Chester Street. When you walk in, you just feel welcome straight away. There's a warmth to it, and it's a hub of community, all because of a huge number of amazing volunteers. What we do at Refuse is all about valuing people, food, and places that would otherwise be wasted or overlooked. So that might be the empty shop that was empty for 6 years, making that a beautiful thing, restoring the high street. That might be the food that has been wrongly labelled worthless. Or it might be people and saying, do you know what, you're valuable, not just for the coins that are in your pockets, but the skills and the time and the energy that you have to bring to us. So people can pay for their lunches anonymously into an envelope, but they can also pay using their time and skills. They can do the washing up or mend the toilet or sweep the floor or even tweet about us and tell their friends about us. Refuse is run by a good sort of 150 different volunteers doing all sorts of different things. The cooking team sees what food is available that day and rustles up a different menu every day, depending on what we get in. And the results are amazing, the food that we serve. We have a supported volunteering program where we take young people with learning difficulties, mental health problems, barriers to employment in any way, give them the skills and the confidence and one-on-one support towards employment, and language barriers as well, so we work with refugees. We also do a big Christmas dinner every year on Christmas Day, where we get anyone who's alone or struggling for whatever reason on Christmas Day. We're doing that for 120 this year. And we also run a catering company. So today's lunch was provided by Conscious Kitchen, which is our brand of catering. Again, just showing the kind of value of food that has been labelled as worthless, but could actually cater for someone's wedding. And we've done a number of weddings. and we make pickles and chutneys as well out of surplus food. Over lockdown, we served 90,000 meals, over 90,000 meals, distributed all around County Durham to people who were struggling. One volunteer told us once that if it wasn't for this cafe, it's likely he wouldn't be here today. He was suicidal and spent months unable to leave the house. And now he has something to leave the house for, where he knows he'll be accepted. Another told us that whether they have 50p or £500 in their pocket, they know that they're welcome. So it's just got the most amazing social impact, our cafe, and that's just one of those things. Through amazing people that get involved, amazing things happen. I just wanted to show you, though, the kind of example of where we're now at from routing through bins behind Iceland. We're now collecting 10 to 13 tons of food a month, and that's still increasing. And this video kind of shows sort of quality and kind of extent of meat and of amazing products that we get in. And that kind of collection of 10 tons accounts for, or is estimated to save 30 tons of carbon dioxide, which is the equivalent of driving around the world 6 times, once every month. So it's a huge impact, but it is just the tip of the iceberg, even just in County Durham and in what we do, but also that 20 to 40% of food grown for the UK doesn't even leave farms. So this guy is Tristan Stewart, who inspired me way back in the day, and with his book. And he is standing in front of a mountain of bananas that were left there to rot because they are too straight. And the ones above are oranges that are obviously fine inside, but have a little blemish on the outside. So again, left to rot. When we first started Refuse, we were routing through bins, and supermarkets were burying their heads in the sand, denying they had a waste problem and closing their doors in our faces. And now those same supermarkets come to us to ask for advice of how to improve their waste problem. And pretty much every supermarket in the UK now does something to do with redistribution and has a way of redistributing their surplus. There's a way to go, and what we really want to know is how to reduce that waste in the first place rather than just redistributing. But really, I hope our story shows that acts of kind of activism, small acts can snowball and really make a difference. Even just the fact that I'm standing here today, it means that we're making an impact just by spreading our story. And where we are today is only because of hundreds of people who have made that happen, whether that's just by donating to crowdfunder campaigns or retweeting us or coming to our cafe and eating food with us or supporting it or driving the van around and making meals in the kitchen. We are all food citizens, not passive consumers, and our small acts and what we do can make a difference. So I'm asking you to get around a table, to get to know your food, to put your hands in the soil, to know where it came from, to tell its story, and to get around a table with your friends or with people that you don't know, and to think about what small differences, what small acts you can do to change the world. Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. We talked a fair amount before, but a lot of it was still new to me. So it's great, especially with the images and that you captured along the way. So my question is, it started off, I guess student activism. Would we maybe describe, if you will?
Just graduated activism.
Just graduated. Recent graduate activism, and to some extent, probably just wanting to make a point, I guess possibly embarrass some companies into changing how they they behaved, and now it's obviously transmogrified into. So it's a C.I.C, a social enterprise, isn't it? Yeah, and obviously, I mean, you're doing all the sort of, if you will, food recycling. It's in a sense, I guess it's not recycling. It's just taking food that was going to go in the bin and using it where possible. And is that primarily through the? I mean, you have obviously the catering business, which obviously most of us, if not all of us, have had a chance to sample today. You have the cafe, which is, how long has the cafe been open?
3 years.
3 years, wow.
Including that. At a year of COVID, so.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And like, I guess ultimately, I mean, there are people who just have a job, right? And they struggle to like make their family all work and, make sure the kids are, if they have kids, are doing well in school and blah, blah, blah. So I guess to some extent, how do you folks, what makes it work, if you will? I mean, to scale to something which is, you're working, well, not you personally, let's say, but your organization is working every single day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I guess, intaking from, is it the grocery store chains that are providing?
Mostly supermarkets, yeah. We collect a lot from Amazon
right.
as well,
Okay.
Amazon Fresh, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, I guess, is any insight into actually how you make all that work? I mean, if you were Jeff Bezos, I would guess that maybe you've got some spare cash in the background to help finance all this. I'm guessing you don't have that kind of Amazon spare cash lying around?
No, I wish.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like I've emphasized the point a lot, but just the power of people, like, when you get some amazing, you get one bright idea and you get some amazing people behind it,
okay.
who give so much of their time and energy and skills.
Okay. But
Yeah.
it seems a lot of it is that this is like it's a grand logistical challenge.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if this was actually a for-profit
Absolutely.
business, we'd still be pulling our hair out trying to coordinate when something arrives from here and getting stuff, and then trying to figure out what's actually edible, right? Because some of it probably actually is now rotten and has to be thrown out, sort of thing. Is there like a grand wizard of operations that kind of makes all this happen?
Yeah, definitely. We've got an amazing team of logistics people. Actually, we very, very rarely do get food that is kind of needs to be processed or
so
even
that's a rarity.
thrown away.
That's good.
We always have surplus bread. But
Okay.
But yeah, it's a big logistical operation. We have an electric van that drives around the Northeast every day, coming back full of food, and that has to be distributed and organized. And we've got an amazing kind of warehouse, walk-in fridges and walk-in freezers and all that kind of thing. So it's a big old operation these days, yeah.
Yeah, and so, and then final question, is Refuse something that, as an organization, can continue to scale, or do you have ambitions to kind of maybe go into other regions, or is it something that others can, effectively mimic and try to do themselves in their part of the world?
Definitely, yeah. Well, there are lots of other organizations similar to us in other towns already, doing similar things. But actually, and we're really, really keen to kind of almost feel like there should be a Refuse Cafe in every town in the Northeast. But then again, we're not wanting to build an empire on food waste, because actually our business model is to put ourselves out of business. We want to see food waste come to an end in the Northeast.
Yeah.
We don't want to be building an empire that is reliant on it and asking supermarkets to waste more. We want to be asking them to stop in the first place. So it's a bit of a funny one in terms of growth. I think we want to grow awareness. We want to grow deeper. We don't necessarily want to grow an empire.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.